Mayor, whenever you're ready, I think we're good. I'll turn on your mics so they're
Ready?
all on. If you don't want your mic on, you can turn it off, but they're all on now.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Would you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a roll call, please?
Mayor Rao? Here. Councilman Rao?
Present.
Councilman Hunter?
Here,
Councilman Leveri?
Present.
Simons?
Here. Okay. Are we in compliance with our Nevada open meeting law?
Yes.
Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment related to the items on the agenda? In consideration of others who may also wish to provide public comment, please avoid repetition and limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Nice decision, Mike. Where are you pointing?
Well, I was
at
just
me?
making sure the mic was open. Want to be official?
You're the official. Oh,
No,
you're.
I'm not.
okay.
Trust me.
That microphone is really fickle, so if you pull it close, it will definitely help so we can hear it on the recording.
Okay, my public comment. Tonight's kind of like being on Survivor. You know. Anyway, part of these are my opinions and part of them are other people's opinions who have voiced them very strongly. And this is not about Craig Royston getting a raise. It has nothing to do with Craig Royston at all. It's about my town, my city. So I'm going to combine three things in this. The city clerk's raise.
If you talk into the mic, we'll still be able to hear it.
Okay. The $21,000 grant match fund and the $10,000 for the League of Cities. Every year, we get numerous people come to the city with their hands out and sometimes with a wheelbarrow. We have LCAT, the rodeo board, who, and this is a big thing that 2 or 3 people said, are very irked that we gave all the rodeo equipment away for free because there's people that would have used it. A grant match fund for me, in my mind and other people's, if you apply for a grant, you should have that matching fund in your pocket. Especially when you couldn't get off your thrones and allow marijuana within the county. Okay. Everything that they say, every time anybody comes for money, is for tourism. It's going to benefit Caliente. That's a big joke. Nothing in this county can happen without Caliente. We've got the motels, we've got the restaurants, we've got the bars, we've got the churches, Family Dollar, True Value. So, and we're very well known for our destination. Charity starts at home, and Caliente is our home, and with that, what has come out in the past 8 months, and what we don't know is gonna crawl out of the woodwork, and it's gonna happen, it's crawling. You need to say the buck stops here. No more donations except to groups within our city, like the softball tournament. Should our city clerk, bookkeeper, HR manager, payroll manager, and man of many hats get a raise? I'll say it politely. Other people said it more violently. I'll say heck yes. When I came in a couple of Mondays ago, I'm walking up and some lady's walking out of the back room and she says, oh, he's in here doing bills. And I thought, well, I needed to return something to the deputy city clerk. When I walked in there, there was nobody there. Craig comes out of his office. He then became the deputy city clerk as I handed him the material that I had borrowed. As I'm leaving, somebody comes in and he has to change hats and become the utility clerk because there was nobody here to take that job. All the time, okay. Okay, all the time while he was trying to do the job that he was hired for, which he can't do because he's doing the job of the past 4 or 5 city clerks. I'm sorry, guys, my meds just make me shaky. We're going to have Big Brother watching us. We've got the IRS, PERS, Social Security, the state and county wanting their, whatever's coming to them. If we went to any of them, if we went to the county commissioners and asked for $35,000, like they came for $30,000 for a dispatcher, you'd be laughed out of the room. So a lot of people that I've talked to and have talked to me would love to see, starting tonight, just say no. The money stays here. We need to take care of the city of Caliente, and that means our city clerk, not Craig Royson, but our city clerk, who can and will, if you allow, keep fixing the past mistakes, keep from losing being a city, and let us keep being proud. I'm very proud to say I am a resident of the city of Caliente. If things don't change, we don't keep our city clerk, we're gonna lose it. Sean, I'm gonna use the R word.
Go ahead.
I am very curious on how much the city has spent, and you don't have to tell me tonight, training the last 4 or 5 city clerks. All the training, the travel, the room and board, the gas, the whole 9 yards, just so that they can get their training and walk out of here with it after we have paid for it. I don't want the pomp money touched. That's something that needs to remain the same. And to me, well, and somebody else, if we can afford $21,000, $10,000 tonight and not give the city clerk a raise, it's a huge slap in the face to every one of us, because we're just gonna go stepping backwards into what we were, and we're gonna lose everything. And the other night, I came home from a meeting at the VFW at 9:30. His car was still there, lights were still on. I don't know what time he went home, but if you paid him by the hour, it would be a lot more than what he's asking for monthly. And or yearly. And like I said, it's not about Craig. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with keeping our city going forward, not backwards.
We have any other public comment?
Yes. This doesn't have anything,
Talking to that speaker.
this hasn't anything to do with the agenda tonight. It's just proper that the people that don't know our county commissioner, Mike Reese, I'd just like to welcome him here and introduce him to anybody that doesn't know him. Thanks for being here, Mike.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Except for the minutes, I'd like to have that held separate, but I would make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of the minutes.
I got a question on the consent agenda. I got no issues with Blue Lizard Farms, and I know they come into town and everything. The one thing, maybe Ken can answer this, I don't know, but the one thing, like selling on the highway. He wants to sell vegetables on the highway, and I don't know if that's maybe the best idea to approve that, where we're saying he can sell it on the highway and then somebody smacks into that setup, I don't know, Franklin, or like, would that be something we're responsible for? I'm all for him selling vegetables in town, though. He's done it for a while. I just caught my eye.
Yeah, so first things first, I mean, there's a motion on the floor. We should either let that die for lack of second, or someone should second it first. So we'll go ahead and let it die for lack of second first. There's a couple things, right? It's not, just trying to think of the liability here. we don't, it's not like we have a designated place that we've said, oh, people can sell here. So the business license, in my view, doesn't impose any liability on the city. All we're saying is you are allowed to do business within the city. If they happen to do business, and again, I don't know what the highway looks like and the right-of-ways there. But if they do it on city property, then that's a discussion that we need to have with Mr. Mehring at that moment. I don't know exactly where 21, or sorry, that's the residence address, HC 34 Box 52, Cali, Nevada. I know that the front does say sell along the highway. Again, I don't know if that's going to be in NDOT, on NDOT property, or if it's going to be on Caliente property. There's just a lot of factors there that I don't know about. And at the end of the day, right, like when you talk about liability, you're going to, what's his state of mind? What's he thinking? What's he doing? And so I think that's a valid concern, Councilman Laverie, is to say, well, he doesn't have a valid business address, which is also, I didn't see an explanation on the Boba Bear. I asked Mr. Royson that same question, that there's actually no business location and address on the Boba Tea one either. Mr. Royson stated to me that they just plan on selling at like the farmer's market and things like that, which again, I think is fine. But from my understanding is that the business license application basically just says you're free to transact business in the city of Caliente. The concern is the business location address on there, and whether or not we're approving that address for the transaction of business. And so I think, like I said, I think that's a valid concern. I don't necessarily think there'd be any liability on the city if he does set up on the highway and something happens to him though, right?
All right, yeah, and I mean, I know Mr. Mehring, I'm sure even if there was some issue, he'd bump it another way. When I seen on the side of the highway, it just caught my eye, so.
And I think, and again, that's an important question. It's probably something that we need to look into that we can talk about pool pact with. I think we had the same conversation when we talked about the mobile food vendors, especially on that island, regarding a lot of foot traffic between the island and across the street. I think that issue came up. And so I think, again, it's probably something that we could approve if we want to allow them to transact business in the city, but something we can discuss further once we see where they're actually setting up and what kind of liability that causes on the city. So maybe what I'll do with Craig here in the next week is get together with Pool Pact and talk to them a little bit about that.
Okay, we'll have to entertain a motion again for this.
I would again move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of the minutes.
And I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with exception of the minutes of 4/7/22. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, now do we need to discuss that one?
We probably should discuss the minutes
Yeah.
and figure out what to do with that.
Okay, on page 4, item 7, section B and D, it said Public Works Manager Perkins read his report. And the other one, it says Building Inspector Dixon read from his report. These reports are not in the minutes and they should be considered part of the record.
And they will be.
Craig, well, since I did them, I attached them in the program, and I thought when you downloaded the whole package, that they would have printed out with them, so I apologize. That was my mistake.
Okay, as long as you become part of the minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'd move for approval of the minutes with them additions.
Second that.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes with the corrections. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, items for discussion. Approve or deny resolution 2022-10 02 proclaiming Sunday, May 1st, 2022 as California Youth Law Awareness Day.
So this is just an email that I got. This is in conjunction with the League of Cities. They're sending this out. I don't know if you'd like me to read it, or if we want to have it read, or if that's something that
Is
you,
it something that's just short that we can, yeah?
I can read it. So Resolution 2022-02, resolution of the City Council of Caliente, Nevada, declaring May 1st, 2022 as Youth Law Awareness Day in Caliente, Nevada, whereas each May 1st is celebrated as National Law Day across the United States of America, with this year's theme being Toward a More Perfect Union, the Constitution in Times of Change, and whereas the City of Caliente is committed to a more perfect union and acknowledges that a more perfect union can be achieved in part by teaching youth the role of law in times of change, and whereas Project REAL, R-E-A-L, a nonprofit serving the youth of Nevada, has been working diligently to promote young Nevadans' awareness of laws and consequences of breaking them, and whereas on this occasion our city asks all capable adults to instruct any young people in their lives on the importance of thinking within the context of the law and to help them understand that ignorance of the law is not an accepted legal defense for breaking it. And whereas these conversations with Nevada's youth will make a notable contribution to safety throughout our community, now therefore the Caliente City Council and I, its Mayor Steve Rao, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 1st, 2022 as Caliente Youth Law Awareness Day. That is the entirety of the resolution. And just, I guess, as a comment, so the email is on the back in the support, but there was an email from Emma Winkleman, Program Assistant for Project REAL. That's where the request came from.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution 2022-02 proclaiming Sunday, May 1st, 2022 as Caliente Youth Law Awareness Day.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2022-02. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, approve and deny bid awards for the City Depot Exterior Restoration Project to Spectra Company. Seeing as how they were the only bids, so.
Pretty easy.
So basically, Spectra, out of all those people that showed up for our pre-bid conference, they were the only company that actually submitted a bid. The bid was higher than we expected, but our estimate was over a year old and prices have definitely risen. So personally, I was very relieved to see it as under 2 million, even though it's just barely under 2 million. I just would like to say that I've talked with the architect, Carmen Polly, and she has worked with them before. She gives them high marks. She has also said that when they do a project, they love to publicize it. So this is actually a pretty big deal for the city. Also, she said that the quality of work that they do, that we could be in line for a restoration award. So it's a national thing. It's a national restoration committee thing. So all that looks really good for the city of Caliente. Also, last week when we approved signing the agreement about the AB 84 money with Ellery and Patrick here, they are well aware that some of that money is going to have to apply to the rest of the exterior as well as the roof. So that's where that's going. Now, once you approve them, we will make them, we'll tell them that they are, they won the bid and get to work on the pre-construction conference and also vetting the 2 subcontractors they have, which was nice. John Ellis is one of the subcontractors. He's a local guy. And then somebody that he's worked with closely in Las Vegas, Greenway Industries as well. So I thought it was pretty nice handout that they already were looking to local contractors.
Her recommendation was to accept the bid, right? Thank you.
We have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the bid award for the Caliente Depot exterior restoration to Spectra Company.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to accept the bid on the depot exterior restoration project to be awarded to Spectra. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, approve or deny Sonora Caliente 250 off-road race, May 21st, or May 20th through the 21st, 2022.
So Regan actually got a hold of me and asked me if I would go over this. It's been approved. They've got all their documentation in place. The only areas it's gonna affect Caliente is it's gonna come down the hill behind Great Basin Foods, come around, cross the tracks, go behind Company Row, go up into Antelope Canyon, come out of Antelope Canyon, cross the highway, and leave on the old railroad bed going north from town. He's talked to me about having water to take care of dust control. He's discussed with me the having trash dumpsters available in the pit areas where they'll be camping, and those things, we've got that taken care of as far as me and him. And did you see the email I sent you, and were you able to get it in the packet?
I did not get that last.
I understand it, it came to me shortly before the meeting. Me and him had discussed it. Looks to me like they've done their due diligence to have an operations plan, the map already, and stuff to go. And this is May 20th and 21st.
Okay, he also called and talked to me about this, and I asked him about our, getting our event packet filled out, and apparently they didn't know anything about that, or,
Regan knows about it. He designed it. Me and him talked about it.
so anyway, I'd like to see him get that done, because
Okay.
that puts everything in writing.
Okay.
I mean, things are okay, like the dumpsters and stuff, but that's, explains to them what them's gonna cost them and the whole thing. So I think we need to have them fill that out.
And come back.
No,
Okay.
I think we can approve it tonight, but I want them to have it filled out.
Not a problem.
Yes, sir.
Keith, would you mind coming up here, just so we can have it on the
Yeah, this
recording? Sorry,
microphone wasn't recorded well.
thank you.
Point out the safety hazard coming down that hill, what's up on Hill Street there. They've redone the power. Now you have two main power junction boxes right at the base of that hill. So sooner or later, somebody's gonna have a problem coming out of that hill. They've had it in the past. It's a safety hazard to the city itself. And also, which way are they coming down in Hill Street?
They're gonna turn and go behind Great Basin to, I believe it's Bank Street, come out.
Okay. But still, it's a safety hazard. I mean, there's all this desert area. Why do they have to use that hill? All right.
And a question for Grant is, remember about a year ago, we talked about the meter, the water meter. Is that something for this too, or do we provide that?
So in
Remember
the
that charge?
past, and I'm glad you brought that up, in the past, the council has donated the water and they've paid for the trash. The water is one of the things that helps the community by keeping the dust down and not having issues that way. So that's something I guess we need to discuss. I appreciate you bringing that up.
I thought, yeah, because remember we talked about that, having a meter on that, just so nobody, people can't just roll up and take the water, but, okay, yeah, that was my only other concern on that.
Yeah, me and him did discuss
And-
water and where he wants the hydrant meter and everything like
And
that. so.
perhaps for the citizens to somehow barricade that. I don't know how they could with hay bales or something with the,
With him bringing up his concerns on this thing,
I definitely want to go look at those power junction boxes and see
you
what we got
check that
going on.
out. I'm sure that if we okay this thing, that Regan will take precautions to take care of that.
Yeah.
And he's right, it's always a safety issue coming off of that hill. they've run it off of that hill how many times in the past years without too much problems. So, yeah, I mean, it can happen any place, so. What's that? Yeah, we've had issues before, I agree with you. Okay,
I will definitely go look at the junction boxes and I will get a hold of Regan and have him meet me there sometime so he's aware of what's going on. And,
if it's approved here, yeah.
yeah, if we go that route. And we'll get the events form filled out as well.
Okay,
Are we tabling this or are we
No.
entertaining a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, Snor's request to hold the off-road race in Caliente on May 20th, 21st with the improvised improvements or with the improvements to the course.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Sonora 250 off-road race on May 20th, 21st. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, let's make sure we get those concerns taken care of. Okay, approve or deny corrective action plan for the 2021 fiscal year audit.
Okay, so this is the corrective action plan, similar to one that we submitted, seems like yesterday for last year's audit, but, or the prior year, but it's essentially the same. As you read through it, it reads almost identical to the prior year because the timing of getting that last one out late and the timing of getting this one submitted, the problems are essentially the same. They were the same. That fiscal year was over before I ever got here. So a lot of the corrective action plan items that we put in the prior year, 2 prior years, corrective action plan are the same as what we have in here. So I don't know if you want specifics out of this, but a lot of it centers around making adjustments and having the proper controls in place to make sure that reporting is getting done, things are being put in the right place, and that we are providing, filing all of our reports timely. There's a discussion about expenditures in excess of appropriations, and that we will make sure that we're having those meetings prior to year end to move any funds around so that we are in compliance with our budget. So all of those things we will be doing in order to make sure that these don't show up next year, which is in a couple of months.
Okay. Yep.
Eve Whittle, where are we with the $90,000 the IRS wants?
Yeah, so that's on my report that I'll present to, so I'll bring that up.
I make a motion, we approve the corrective action plan for the 2021 fiscal year audit.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to submit the corrective action plan for the 2021 fiscal year audit. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Approve or deny continued membership with the Nevada League of Cities.
I think, did you want to talk
Yeah,
about that? Okay.
If I may, I talked to Wesley Harper this morning. He is the executive director of the League of Cities. I kind of told him it was on here. It was tabled from the last meeting, I believe, if you look at the minutes. The first thing he did is he says, "That Craig," because the wording on it, on the
Screwed it
agenda
up.
item is if you see the agenda, it says continued membership. Well, we're currently members of the League of Cities, and I talked to Craig about this earlier too. Craig really didn't know how to put it as far as, we're already members of the League of Cities. So this was just the Nevada One plan that he presented a couple of months back. Now, there may have been some confusion. There really isn't a deadline for this. So under Wesley Harper's advice to me, and perhaps, I don't know how the other council feels, he suggested maybe we table this to June 16th. He will be back here on June 16th to come to the meeting, answer any other questions from the public or from us. There isn't exactly a deadline of, that's what he wanted to stress, that there might have been some lost in confusion or lost in translation of, we needed this money, all of a sudden. I will say that Wesley's been to Caliente a couple times, more so than any other executive director of the League of Cities. He wants to give us a voice at the state level. I can think most people here that know him know that he does mean well. Other cities, obviously, based on the criteria, have higher dues and stuff. But I felt it would just make everybody feel a little better that we're not gonna have to make this decision tonight. And if my fellow councilman and the mayor agree, kind of like to table this to at least June 16th, which is our second meeting in June, so. Or we could have further discussion.
Do we have, any other comments? If not, we'll,
Not if you're gonna table it.
Okay.
we'll need to,
I'll move to table this agenda item, Craig, to the second meeting in June. I believe it's the 16th of June. Wesley will be reaching out before then, and even coming here. I don't know if he's coming exactly that day or the day before, but he will, I think he's already told Steve he'd be back. So,
I'll second the motion to table it, and if that's what you want to do.
okay, we have a motion and a second to table this,
I think you can table it without a motion.
do we?
Yeah, you can take.
Okay,
Yeah, you can table it without a motion.
all right, then we'll table this till the 16th of June. All right. Item F, approve or deny city clerk's request for an updated variance agreement and pay raise. This has been a pretty big deal here in the last couple weeks. So let's have some comments here.
My voice isn't very good, but I think I've made my opinion very clear that I think there's only one option, and that is to approve his request. He's done a great job for the city. It would be a great loss if we lost him over dollars and cents. It doesn't make sense to fight over a little bit of money for somebody with the talent and skills we've got doing this job now.
I had another telecom conference with the auditor this week again. And he said there was no way that he could find that to put in the budget. And it's our responsibility as the oversee these budgets that we don't overspend. So that's what I'm going by. That's an awful big raise. Councilman Fitzsimons made a suggestion that we raise him, what was it, $500 a month? A total of
well, it was
6,000?
5,000.
5,000?
more a year, not a month.
That's what I mean, yeah. I think if we go 7,200, that's $600 a month raise. That's far bigger raise than we've ever give anybody. And the only way I can see that coming about too is being effective on the 1st of July on next year, budgeting then. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I've had several, I'm not the fence sitter here, I don't think. I talk with the good and the bad, I believe, and not gonna use the research word again. But yeah, like I mentioned last time, two meetings ago, he's a great employee, made the office run very efficiently, does a lot of city manager type things that you'd see in bigger cities. You know, I mean, we hear it from Dan MacArthur's office, he was gonna save the city 40,000, 30,000, you know, but again, when will we see that? Will it be a year? Will it be 2 years? Putting this back on Craig, you know, is he truly invested in the city of Caliente, you know? You just gotta, you know, play devil's advocate here. People ask for a raise like this, you know, is he on his way out? Is he wanting to, you know, I mean, it crosses your mind that he's, you know, knows we can't match it. Is he looking at greener pastures? Just some questions that enter my mind. It kind of looks like, you know, he has us bent over the barrel a little bit or backed into a corner, and it's like, you know, the city will go on if he walks away. I know a lot of people don't want him to walk away. I like the guy. It's nothing personal. You know, but what stops him from asking for more money? Does that make sense? And I have this written down here. I did not steal this from Councilman Rao, but I said, you know, we're responsible for keeping the city within the budget. And if we can, you know, do that, that's why people voted us in, voted us in these positions. So I guess enough rambling goes on. I mean, I haven't really heard from Craig as far as I wasn't here last time, and I had other prior things at another thing in Las Vegas, but, you know, can he show us a pathway of what this looks like? Dan MacArthur, I've spoke to him as well, and it's difficult. I mean, do we give him the $6,000 now, you know, and then we wait 6 months till October and we, you know, basically, I hate to say it, the proof in the pudding, like, you know, what's happening then? We give him a formal evaluation. We, you know, we have raised his pay. I mean, I'm not totally against raising his pay, but I just think 95,000 is just a bridge too far for this city as far as where we're at. So I guess, you know, I can't give you an answer. Is, you know, can we do this? You know, can he meet us a little bit halfway? As far as, like I said, what I'm concerned is I believe he does a good job. I believe that he, you know, we're a councilman and we're on the trees and the branches that people see, and he's down in the roots and uncovering a lot of things that we don't see. And so, and I admire him for that. I know he's a hard worker, and I'd hate to lose him. So I agree with giving him a raise. I just think the 95,000 is just a bridge too far at this point. So those are my thoughts.
Can I respond, I guess, maybe a little bit, and then, I guess we've done this too many times now, but, I guess one of the things that we've talked about, we keep talking about it a raise. I don't look at it that way. We've had that discussion. Really, we're coming to terms to what it's worth to me. We had 6 months to figure it out. I let you have 6 months to say, is this guy worth keeping around here? You told me at 6 months, we probably want to walk away, so we want that availability. Technically, you have that availability every day, no matter what time it is. And so I don't look at it as a raise. You know, you can look at it and say, we've never raised anybody that much money. I'm just asking you to pay me what I'm asking for, not necessarily a raise. The 6 month was like a trial thing. That was kind of discussed when I started. So that's kind of the, I guess, just to talk around the way it's worded. Am I out the door? Maybe, but that's not why I was asking for the money. The fact of the matter is, it has to be worth my time. And I have other opportunities that, and it's not a threat, I just try to be as open as I can, because to me, it is about my time. And that's where, if I'm gonna be spending all the time, it's gotta be worth it. And if it's not, that's fine. Sean, you and I talked before, it's not personal at all, and I understand that. Am I gonna be asking for more money down the road? I don't know that I ever could. And you can always tell me no. So it doesn't really matter if I ask, because it's not like I can make it happen without you saying yes. So if I could come back and ask next year and you could say nope, and it wouldn't even be on the agenda, so it wouldn't matter. But there is that. I don't intend to ask for more money next year or the year after that. I think this is what it's worth to me, and barring inflation making everybody get paid $200,000 next year, I'm not gonna need more than what I'm asking for. There was one other thing that I was gonna say, and now I don't remember what it was, so.
Do you, if you could answer this honestly, when you took this job, did you honestly think that there would be this much work involved? No? Okay. So obviously he took the job, said, yeah, I mean, like I said, you're a great candidate for the job and you, again, you've proved it, but you probably didn't realize how much it entailed.
I don't think anybody knew.
Okay.
Can I step in there?
And a bonus on that is he's more educated than some of the city clerks we've had, as far as, you know what I'm saying? I mean, so qualifications, and you had talked about that, having a degree and stuff, so, okay, go ahead.
I was part of the hiring process there, sat in on the interviews and the discussions that were had. And we talked to Craig about how he would have time to do his other self-employment, because we didn't know what the job entailed. And I think that was because not all the job was getting done before. So that wasn't Craig's misinterpretation, that was probably us not understanding what the job entailed.
I agree with that completely. Having been on that committee, we did not understand the amount and portray it correctly to him, how much it was going to entail.
I mean, I agree with those comments as well. I was in part of that interviewing process. Is we probably vastly undersold how much time he would be spending on the job.
I'd hate to steal this from Craig, like Sean said, from Councilman Rao, but I agree with you 100%. The word raise kind of bugs me because in this situation, I don't think it necessarily is a raise. And I
Because we
think
agreed to
I
it.
think the numbers scares people, but I know countywide, you can go on Transparent about it, and that's not a crazy number in this county. School administrators, different things all make that money. And I don't think a school principal's doing remotely close to the job you're doing and the responsibilities you have here. And then I view it as I told you this, you're a tradesman and no different than like a journeyman electrician or carpenter. If you're skilled at what you do, then you're skilled at what you do. And I don't think you're being off by asking for that price. I mean, it's kind of unprecedented around here, but my thoughts are as a city manager thing, like I don't view it as a clerk, and I think it's more than that. So it seems like the negotiations are done, and then the at-will thing is a big thing to me. Like I wouldn't say at any time we can just get rid of you because there's more to it than that, but you are an at-will employee, and that makes a big difference. So I just think that, and publicly, I haven't heard any bad comments like, because we are out here for the constituents and whatnot. I really haven't heard people say.
Just wait till Keith's done today. I'm just kidding, Keith.
I would think people would be wanting to like scream and yell in Jerry's and wherever else I go. And honestly, it seems like people are comfortable with that based off the job you're doing and their interactions with you. I think the money thing, I wanted to say this real quick too. I think the money thing of with the auditor and it's a gamble for us because I don't think you're going to see that result right away. It might be a year and a half from now before we see that result. So
I'll talk to that too. That was the
I
other
think that's
comment.
just a gamble that we're going to have to make a choice on.
I agree, to some extent, I agree with you there, because like Sean said, when are we gonna realize that? And, I mean, short of Dan saying it's gonna be this day, I mean, they can bill us whatever they bill us, and at this point, we have to pay them because we contract with them. But, I was gonna mention that. Tommy, you said, you talked to Dan, and he said, no way. I talked to him today, and that's not what he said to me. But he also, I don't need to throw him under the bus, he did say that in the budget, the tentative budget that we had, that dollar amount they didn't put in there because if you put it in there, the budget doesn't work. And there has to be decisions made as to other dollars that are in the city and whether or not you're willing to move them to make it work or not. That was the discussion that I had with him today, and I don't think he's trying to undercut anybody. I think the mayor had talked to him as well. And it has been an open process, I hope, for everybody because it's all out there.
I'm willing to, I had this on the agenda months ago to councilman pay raise and everything. I still think it's needed. The comment was made I watched the last meeting on Facebook and honestly, at $147, this is a volunteer thing. I know I'm elected, but I would be willing to cough up what I propose the city council to make, that would go to you because you are doing the tasks of the city. I'm not, I'm here to come here and vote and get my $147 worth. But I would rather than me getting a pay raise or throwing that on there, I'd rather see that money go to Craig, who's doing the job of the city. So I think the money's in there. I actually agree with Mary. I mean, we're about to vote on coughing up 20 grand and people come to Caliente. They don't go to Lincoln County.
And I
They
will,
gotta go through here to get there. So I think there's dollars around, like you said.
and I will say too, and when I talked to Dan, I told him and Stacy, I worked with Stacy quite a bit too, and I said, I don't want to ask for it. If you tell me that this is a bad idea for the city because you view the financial statements different than I do, I'll just go to the meeting tonight and say, never mind. This isn't gonna work out no matter what we do. We'll have to figure something else out. But he didn't say that either. It's not his decision to make. I think you've talked to him and discussed the numbers of that. I believe the money is there personally, and I'm not trying to set the city back. I do believe the things that he's told me as far as saving the city money going forward. I believe that there's a lot of dollars that have been saved already, and will continue to be saved just by the changes that we're making and what we're doing. But a lot of that is hard to show on a piece of paper right now. So, and actually, I did misrepresent probably the cost of the city because we do keep talking about 35,000, but I do have benefits. So we talked about the actual cost of the city being closer to $46,000 because of PERS. So there's that as well. Not to fight against myself, but it has to be considered. So, and with that, he feels like, yeah, there may be money in some places that we can use to cover some of that, but there would have to be not only changes, but aside from this pay raise, we have a lot of challenges financially that are gonna necessitate rate increases probably all over, and then I'm gonna get punched in the face for this afterwards, but they're coming with or without me. And that's gonna be happening regardless, but that is probably also a piece that has to be considered because we have to raise rates.
And goes along with those rates, that's one of the spots that Craig has really excelled in, is our utility payments, the overdue payments have been resolved. He has taken a priority this last 6 months to get all of these people on agreements to get their bills paid. We had people that were way in debt to this, crazy thousands of dollars in debt to the city, and he's worked out payment plans with them to get those things taken care of, and he has been diligent on getting. That's money that a lot of times we would have not recognized. Multiple times throughout the history of the city of Caliente, they've had to write that debt off because we're not gonna collect those bills. He has worked out plans with these people to where no matter what, that bill's going to get paid. He's worth his money in that. And so dollars and cents wise, it's gonna pin out in the long run. And he was upfront. It is not a pay raise. From the beginning, he told us that his rate was going to be going up somewhere in this ballpark. He didn't give us a firm number, but he said it's gonna be in this ballpark in order for it to be worth my time, and we knew that going in. So it's not a raise.
I wasn't on the hiring board, but that's the way it was told to me when they were hiring me, that discussion was had, that
Just to get,
there were, like it was 6-month thing, cause honestly, I do agree with Councilman Fitzsimons, like typically be a year, we give you an evaluation, but I've heard from everyone on that panel, not even recently when it was done, that was, you had other things going, and it was kind of a negotiated thing at that point, so.
just going back to something you said a second ago too, and this is like an intangible benefit or value that I've seen just personally sitting here or being here at the city. There was an individual that had a large balance that we had some tough discussions with and set up. And that person has paid their bill off entirely. And I mean, it was cool to watch because that person has been empowered by that process. And so even though it's one person and it's a utility bill and we're forcing payment and all of that, whatever, by doing our job here, we are improving the value and the atmosphere in the city without, I mean, it's hard to put something on it, but it is going to make the city a better place. The things that we're doing in City Hall will make the city a better place in general for everybody.
How we doing? Chris Glassburn, City of Caliente employee. In sitting here listening to this, I have a question. I'm not looking for an answer, just hopefully something that you gentlemen think about. We're talking about Craig Royce's pay raise or new contract, whatever you want to call it. Rough 50,000, let's just use rough numbers. So now we're talking about a $50,000 increase to the city's budget for the city clerk position. Another thing that is coming up, and it will come up every year, is obviously our new acquired pay scale for the rest of the employees, on top of a 3 to 5% increase in our electrical contract with the county increase that happens every year. Personally, as an employee and as a citizen of this city, what is our course of action to account for those increases? Because I haven't seen anything. And I know we're talking about rate increases, right? Obviously, everything's going up. We should all, as citizens and employees and councilmen of this city, be prepared for that. But that seems to be a lot of an increase that is going to have to happen at one time. And I think personally, as a utility paying citizen of this town, that is a lot to ask of our citizens to account for all of that increase at one time. Thanks.
I think that, well, I don't need to answer necessarily, but not that it was an answer, just comments. I agree with Chris.
My question is gonna be along that same lines of how do you expect for this current budget to overcome the costs of your salary? Do you have a plan for that, how we would augment the budget and move things around?
Currently for this current fiscal year,
Yes.
over the next couple weeks, months.
Yeah, for the next couple of months.
I guess it's only, what, a month and a week. I mean, we'd be talking about a small amount of money.
Yeah, that'd be a very small amount since it's only a month and a week.
And I guess I would just argue that I've already saved that money.
Yeah, you've already
If I
saved
was
it.
gonna try to, if I had to argue for it, that's probably what I would say, but.
Questions answered, you're already good there.
But, you know, I think Chris brings up valuable points that we have to consider and, you know, what that's gonna look like. I mean, Grant and I have talked. We've been kind of mulling this over for several months now. It always brings heartburn to all the city council, I know that, to raise rates and dealing with the backlash that comes with that. The truth of the matter is we have to calculate and find out what it's gonna take to, and it's not just electrical. Most all of our utility funds are struggling, and we gotta turn that around somehow. And we don't really have a way to generate revenue here, except for rates.
And I think when you look at that, I think the reason it's coming all at once is because we kicked the can down the road too many times. We've absorbed a lot of rate increases and a lot of expenses. We just kicked the can down the road and now it's finally hitting us.
Yeah. So there, and it's not like that's gonna make it any better for the citizens of Caliente. But the truth of the matter is you have eaten a lot of those costs for a long time. So they did benefit for a while, or a long while. But that only goes for so long. I mean, it only goes for so long.
Well, have any other comments? Yeah, I've talked to our auditor twice today. And with this change, if we should go with this change, there are gonna be, have to be some changes made in our budget completely. Because Mr. Royson's wages come out of, there's comes out of two different places.
Yeah, general fund, yeah.
General fund, and if we do what we're saying here, it will come out in the negative. We have to have, state law says we have to have this much of a balance in that thing. If we go with what we have, what he's asking for, we will be below that. And that won't be, then the state won't go for that. So there are some changes, if we're gonna do this, it's gonna be some changes that have to be made. Because it's, I mean, we're on the borderline here on whether or not we can do this, is what I'm getting from our auditor.
And I think that, you know, in that consideration also is, you know, we're looking at what it is today. If I don't save the city any money, those changes would have to be permanent. But if anything that I've said is true, then ultimately I would like to think that I will pay for myself and then some. And then it won't be a matter of where's the money coming from. It will be what are we gonna do with the extra money that we have because he's here.
And you believe that?
That's pretty optimistic for me to say that way, but I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it was true.
Do you have a plan to make that happen this upcoming fiscal year that we're going to be starting?
Well, I'll be interested to talk with Dan and Stacy and see, kind of evaluate over the last, once we've actually gone a year, like to compare prior year costs to them to current year and then projected year costs for them. The corrective action plan is something that they've always done. I did that for us. I don't know, that maybe that only takes them 5 minutes and it probably took me longer than it would have taken them, but next year it won't. And so the budget process is a big process, and that's something that I've never done before. So they're gonna be involved in our budget process heavily this year. And I'll be working with them to find out what I can take from them so that they don't have to do it. You know, the real question is, I mean, they're a business too. So anything I take from them, I'm taking from them. And so I don't know how all that will go down, but they're pretty open, honest, and I really appreciate working with them. So as far as how that's gonna go, or the plan, I think it's just whatever they told us, you know, whatever I have to do to make that 20 to 30,000 that they've said is possible happen, I'm gonna do that. And you know, that's just one of the pieces, I guess, of that puzzle. So yeah, there's a timing issue with the money that I will save the city and the money that it's gonna cost to do it right now. The challenge is, you know, I can't guarantee you that it's gonna be in 6 months or a year. I mean, we'll have to talk to Dan and find out what that timeline looks like, but it's gonna happen. I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Another thing is here too, is our last city clerks that we've had, we paid $50,000 a year for. Did we get $50,000 worth?
Yeah, what do we get out of it?
Worth the work out of this? You know, is this, I mean, yeah, we're putting all this money out, like they were saying, for training and for all this stuff that's going on. And yet, Mr. Rawson goes in here and opens up the drawer and there's a stack of papers from the IRS this high in there that have never even been acknowledged. There's bills through the state tax commission in a drawer in there that has never been even opened up and looked at. There's a lot of stuff that he's dug out of these drawers, and he's still digging out of the drawers that could get us in some big trouble.
On that, like Craig, since I've been around, and I know I haven't been in here tons, but I haven't seen you ever leave to go to a training. Not like,
Yeah.
you haven't been off for like a week or,
Well, I did take off a
This
week for
kid.
vacation, but I haven't
Well,
gone to any in-person training.
yeah, I'm talking training.
I've done, we went to League of Cities, for a couple of days. And then I've done a lot of training with Cassell, on the phone. I've done some webinars with Cassell.
I gotta throw this comment in there, and this is not gonna go good, but I gotta say it. So I view it as a contract almost, no different. I know it is different, but Franklin and the other things we contract in, not too long ago, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office came in here. We didn't bat an eye. We gave them, I can't remember, 170 grand, which is great for policing. But, gosh, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna say it, might as well go throw the money down the toilet. And no one cared about that. And, I mean, we're talking about skilled, a job we need and everything else, and that's, I guess, how I look at it. I mean, I hate to put you up against the LCSO, but the sheriff is not even in the county, I don't think, and he's never been here. There's never representation here. And so, that amount of money for poor service and.
Once again, I'm gonna put it this way, the reason we
I'll
have.
probably be harassed now, but I mean, I say it.
But you gotta look at the
It's a fact.
reality.
I'm not the only person in the community that feels
But
that
you've
way.
got to look at the reality of that situation. The cost of replacing Lincoln County Sheriff's Office would be much higher than $170,000 a year. We've talked that through. Well, I equate that to the same thing with Craig Royson. If we don't have him here, what's it going to cost us to replace him? The IRS issue that we got to deal with, all these other issues that we got to deal with, we will have to pay somebody else to do that job. We have paid other people $50,000, not gotten that benefit, and we've got to pay somebody to fix all of their mistakes. Same way we have to pay the sheriff's department. If we had to replace Lincoln County Sheriff's Department, it would be a lot more money. We did the math. We looked at the facts and said, this is what it's going to cost. I don't have that with Craig Royce, and I don't know exactly what that cost would be like we did with the Sheriff's Department, but we're going to end up paying that amount, $95,000 a year. We're going to end up paying that over the next year, no matter how we look at it. Whether it's in training, whether it's in whatever it is, we're still going to pay that. And so I'm going to make a motion that we approve Craig Royson's pay increase. Go from there.
Do you have a specific on that, a specific dollar amount on the motion?
I put 95,000. That's what his pay increase is.
I'll second the motion to approve Craig Royson's pay increase.
We have a motion and a second to approve Royson's request for an updated variance agreement and pay increase. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
So I guess it's left up to me. I've been talking to, like I said, I've talked to our auditor. He's not gonna step in the middle and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. He cautioned me today that things have to be big changes if this is gonna happen. Because right now, it's not in our budget to do this. I don't know. I've talked to Mr. Royson here, and he's even agreed to, if we pay him at that rate, to stay on and train our next person. I mean, that's the kind of person he is. I think I'm gonna have to vote in the positive and see how things work out. I know it's gonna be tough, but I think that's what I'm gonna have to vote at this time. So, what's that, 3-5? Motion carries? 3-2, excuse me. Yeah, out of the five, three to two. So, I hope it works out. If it don't, they'll have me hanging in a tree out here somewhere.
I would just like to say, I hope you don't plan on advertising for that job opening that's coming up, the retirement this end of the month.
Okay.
And I will just say thank you for supporting.
I,
Thank you. I mean, thank you to all of you. I know it's not
Okay.
personal. I appreciate the whole.
and I appreciate everybody. I mean, this is tough to make. But I think in the long run, I think we're gonna benefit from it. I wouldn't vote for it. Steve? Yes, sir.
Just for the record, I'd like to hear when you guys say it goes into effect.
Well,
July 1?
Yesterday?
July 1? Does it go to July 1, like the fiscal year?
No,
I think it was intended to be immediately, but
his variance agreement, the former agreement we had already expired a month ago, 2 months ago. And so I think that we make it just effective immediately. That's what seems fair to me, that he's already taken 2 months of pay at a lower rate than what was agreed upon.
Probably the beginning of the pay period, whenever it
Yeah.
starts.
Question for Mr. Catchkey, say this, so this goes through 6 months down the road, we're at a loss for our budget, we're having no, I mean, it's,
If we're insolvent, right, and we're having to file for bankruptcy, he's gonna be
all of
the
a sudden, we're
first one.
taking him out, I mean, we're,
I'll let you know before we get there, but.
Layoffs across the board, right? Like,
just,
so I think it happened a number of years ago with White Pine is the city or the state, at least at the county level, the state
I
comes
was
in and
thinking of,
controls
yeah.
for a while, but they become it goes into a trusteeship or I don't know what it's called, but
I hope we don't have to start
Yeah.
talking like that.
I think we're premature at that point. We'll see where the budget goes from.
We won't get there, but if we see it coming, you can just tell me to take a hike.
One more remark I'd like to make. Although I voted against this and wasn't for it, I'm gonna support the council's decision.
I think everybody.
I echo that, I wanted to give him a raise, just, you know, in the 70 ballpark and then see, but like I said, we're all adults here, I'll support what the council voted.
Okay, we'll move on. Approve and deny splitting grant match with Lincoln County for the city bike trail.
Okay, I'd like to speak on that. Mary spoke about that prior to the meeting, or at the beginning of the meeting. And this grant that the county put in for, that was approved, covers a redoing of this whole road from the depot to Highway 317. It's gonna be, that's over $20,000 worth of work there. Pardon me? No, but they're gonna resurface it, they're gonna put a bike trail on it, on the side of it. After it's widened, they're doing the bike trail down there. The only people that's gonna satisfy that is residents. Tourists aren't coming in. This grant the county put in was for the city. And the city at that time, when they put in for it, we were asked about it, and we're told in the meeting that we would go half of it. We do have the funds available in the room tax fund for this. And room tax fund is set up for recreational purposes, and that's what this is for. And with that, I would like to make a motion that we pay our half of the grant, which is
20,797.
20,797.50.
I'll second the motion. Where it comes from, that room tax is, we have that, and it's a great thing for everyone. So I second the motion.
And I'll just add, I don't know if it's appropriate, but one of the things that we'll have to look at and need to consider too is there is the money that is in room tax. Also, there is a budgeted, in the tentative budget that we submitted, and we haven't had the meeting, but I think we're planning to have a meeting with Dan MacArthur here in the next week if we can, so I'll get with you on that. But there is an increase in the amount that we're going to be transferring from room tax to cover parks and general fund. So where we're talking about using that money, there is an additional, I think prior it was 30,000 to each, and this year in the budget, it's budgeted at 50 each. So.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did you vote for that?
No, I was gonna vote, nay on that one.
Nay?
'Cause, yeah.
Okay.
I'm confused because when they first talked about it, Clover was just gonna be a share, and it was not gonna be anything on the side.
It is not gonna be on the side.
It's not gonna be widened?
Not the plans. The plans were to resurface the whole thing. I don't think there's any widening of the road down there. It'll be resurfaced and repainted, and that's the way it was set up. Okay. Update concerning ongoing grants administration, city clerk's report, and city clerk's report. Maybe we put them all together.
Do both of them at the same time? Okay, so as far as the grants go, the primary issue there was just accepting the bid. So there's no other update except that we'll be looking forward to the schedule and what that's gonna look like going forward. And then for my report, I wanted to get this out in the support, but I didn't, so I'll read these, or at least discuss them. So as far as the utilities go, we've been looking into the net metering. Thanks to Keith, who's here tonight. He brought it to our attention that it wasn't working right. And I had committed to him that I'd have an answer for him by today, which I do, thankfully. But the net metering has not been set up correctly in Cassell, and so it wasn't tracking right. The billing was coming out wrong, and we'll go back and look at those other citizens that have solar panels and make sure that is corrected or done right. I believe the billing on those is right, but the data that's being tracked is not tracking correctly. But we will verify that for sure and make sure that all of those are squared away and corrected. Cassell is all, we had a call with Cassell yesterday and this morning, and they have told us that what we're trying to accomplish is definitely something they can set up for us, and the corrections there's some coding that has to be done on the back end for them in order for our functionality to work as it should. And so they're in the process of doing that. It's kind of a process, but it should be done relatively quickly. We're kind of at their mercy at this point for that, but my hope is that we're cutting bills right now. We're in the process of reading and getting bills out. It probably won't be corrected. I hope I'm wrong. It may not be corrected by this bill that goes out, but the adjustments that need to be made, I know how to calculate, and I know how to make those adjustments for citizens so that they're at least not being overcharged on their bill. It'll come out wrong. We'll make the adjustment and make it right by them. And then hopefully by next month's bill, it will show correctly on the bill, and it should be self-explanatory. You should be able to do the math on your own, which is my goal with the bills. Let's see, grants we already covered. Just a couple things to note. We do have several bank accounts that have small amounts. Some of them are required statutorily. But we do have dormant bank charges that just keep eating away at the dollars that are sitting there, which is unfortunate because interest rates don't cover the cost of the dormant charge. So that's just something that I've noticed. I'll probably bring something up and see with the bank if there's something we can do about that, because that's just a bad situation. The quarterly reports that are due every quarter will be going out this next week. We got 941s, state unemployment, QES, UEC, several reports that we'll be getting out. I guess I wrote on here, just for clarification, a little additional comment on the net metering. So Franklin thankfully was kind enough to help me out here and provided me with some good information on the net metering. So, and this will be beneficial, I think, to anybody that has come in to talk about this. So according to the Nevada Public Utilities Commission, net metering is recorded as consumption, which is just your normal use of power that we provide to citizens, less the production that you make with your system. And so at the end of the day, the calculation is, what did you use and what did you produce, subtract what you've produced, and then bill the net amount. So up until the point where you are producing more than you consume, if you're actually putting more power into the grid than what you're using, you get a 100% return. You get dollar for dollar because we bill net at our regular rate. Then after that, if you ever produce more than you consume, then the percentage calculation comes into play, where if you're a newly adopted in right now, it would be a 75% calculation on that power that you're putting back onto the grid. Most everybody, if not all of them, I'll have to double check, nobody is producing more than they're consuming in this realm. So all of them will just be a net metered payment that will cost those citizens just our regular rate of power. But if they ever do produce more than they consume, there's additional calculations, and that's why it's very complicated with CAISL, because that has not been considered or set up at all. And Keith, I told you I'd have an answer. I can give you the actual numbers, but we've got a credit to come back to you on that, and we got it squared away. So, I just as a note, I transferred. We have Express Bill Pay, which is something we set up about a year or so ago. I think that has been very valuable for citizens. I think it's good for us as well. One thing that happens there is they maintain an account where certain payments that go through, depending on the type of transaction, it actually sits in an account with them. I knew that was there for a long time. It was just a matter of getting around to transferring the money. But I transferred $435,000 from that account to our checking account. There are fees associated with Express Bill Pay. If you maintain a balance in that account of $25,000, you don't have to pay those fees. If we're not doing anything else with the money, I'm just gonna leave that $25,000 there so we don't have to pay the fees. But I will be regularly at this point moving that money over on a monthly basis. This has been in there since the beginning of time, since we started with them. So that is done. Some updates to the general ledger journal entry process I've made to improve efficiency there. And I've also received amortization schedules for our USDA loans. From the time as far as I know, the entries that have been made have always just been a principal payment, which isn't correct. We pay principal and interest, and so for us to look at the books and understand where we actually stand with our debt it's impossible if you don't have an amortization schedule and make the correct entries. So I received that from the USDA yesterday. Maria was helpful in getting us that from there. And so I'll be making those entries correctly so that at least our funds look a little more appropriate. And then Eve asked about the IRS stuff. So I'm still working on reconciling where we're at with them. I literally received, 30 pieces of mail from the IRS with schedules and payments. So if you come into my office, you'll see them still sitting on the stack. They've been opened and looked at, but they're still sitting there in the stack. So I'm working through reconciling all of those so that I can reach out to them and figure out what we can do to get rid of that, get it taken care of one way or another. And then one thing that happened that was really cool, I got a call from Marshall over at Pool Pact asking if I would consider being a part of the executive committee with Pact, which is a pretty cool opportunity. I think it'll be very beneficial to the city. It's, as far as I know, it's just volunteer. They have 6 meetings a year, but that will be really valuable to get a good understanding. They are in charge of our work comp insurance. He told me to call Corey Wadsworth and ask him how he felt about it, and he said, you definitely need to do that. That will be a great benefit to you and the city. So I will be doing that as long as they let me do it still. They had a meeting this morning, but I called him earlier today and said, like, I gotta wait until after tonight at least to know what's going on. So that'll be something that I'll be doing, and I'm excited to do that.
Now, what is this appointment again?
So I don't know I think it's a process still where you put in, I think there's a vote, you know, but it's the PACT. So Pool Pact is our general liability and work comp insurance provider. PACT, the PACT side of it has an opening on their executive committee. Marshall called me and said, hey, your name came up. Would you be interested in doing this? So.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be really a good representation for the city to have somebody on that.
Yeah. So that's all I have. And thank you. I know it's a debated thing, but I really appreciate the consideration and the variance agreement.
Okay, any questions? Okay, let's go to Public Works Manager's report.
Okay. The last couple of weeks, we pulled water samples, got them sent to the labs. Everything went good. Our water's good. We are taken care of there. I've met with W.W. Clyde, their guy doing the construction job down there, visited with him for a little bit. We've got a water meter set up on a hydrant down here for them to use for their watering. We got them set up in billing for that. The power company came today to do a repair for one customer, affected one customer. It's a wind issue, but they will also be coming down next week to do a 3-phase upgrade on the old cars building. There's 3 power meters there, and one is a 3-phase meter, and the other 2 are single-phase, and they're gonna turn one of the single-phase meters into a 3-phase meter so he can power his welders and plasma cutters and all the equipment he's gonna have in there to do his stuff. In the parks, these guys have been busy the last couple of weeks getting things going. I think Chris told me in the last 2 days, you've changed out like 10 sprinklers and lost count of nozzles. Just as they've been going around checking things, getting the system running and going. And they've been cleaning the parks. The new lawnmower came yesterday. We've got one of our temporary or seasonals in the parks started Tuesday, and another one starts tomorrow. And so they started mowing lawns. The seasonal and Rick started mowing lawns today and working on those things. We are waiting for the bagger for our new mower, but it has showed up. We've got the mower here. The bagger will be coming later. These guys have also spent a lot of time spraying weeds and trying to get ahead of those. I'm not sure how well that's gonna work as I drive around and see them everywhere, but they're working on it. The Pearsons are gonna be here not next week, but the following week to fix the ADA ramp at Dixon Park and get that taken care of. Might have them do some other concrete work as well while they're down here on the sidewalk on the opposite side of Company Row. There's a spot that's pretty bad by a fire hydrant there. I'll have them fix. And the last thing that I wanted to say is I've talked to Craig about advertising that position for Jim in the paper, and I want to see if there's any issues with that after what's been said here.
I think we need to hold off on that for a short time. I think there's some changes and things that would be better to hold off on that at this time to save some for the budget. And you've also increased, but you've got Rick doing some work on your side now to help alleviate some of that.
Rick's doing work in the parks. He's not doing our other project work, and he doesn't have the ability to do the work that Jim did and somebody that we need to run equipment and do those things.
I believe that that's the right way to go. I'm looking at the public utilities. I think that they can take a little short term.
When's Jim's effective
The 28th
of May?
of this month. Yeah.
Well, I think we can take applications if they got people who want to put them in.
Okay?
Let's get that part done.
I have received one. I don't know how they heard about it, but I did receive an application for it today.
You did?
Me too. I don't know if we both got the same.
When I told them to send it to you.
Okay.
At least collect the applications, and you can
I-
always hold off on
We
the
don't have
interviewing
the start
process.
date yet or not, but let's,
There's a difference between collecting applications and advertising for a position.
yes.
We'll always collect applications.
Yeah.
I'm asking about advertising for the position.
Yeah,
I think we hold off till after the fiscal year and see.
it's 2
I thought
months.
that's what we were, I didn't think we were.
That's 2 months.
That's 2 months
Yeah.
during the busiest time of year for my guys to be without.
What did Jim do? I know he's equipment operator, but I thought he was the trash man, no.
So Jim did a little bit of everything, and he would do mechanic stuff, he would operate the equipment. When we got Justin, Jim kind of stepped out of the trash, and Justin was taking care of the trash. But Jim was there for all the dig projects we did and ran the equipment to do it. He would spend time out at the pit making material for us and building things that we needed built around here. He did a lot of that stuff for us. When we got the new dumpsters and had to reinforce them to push them around the way we do, Jim did that. There's a lot of those things that we're gonna be missing.
My feeling is you advertise it still, and that way you get those people, getting the apps in, and then you can always, that's where you have your pool of people, and you can always call them to set up when the deadline is, or when,
If you advertise, that means you need to put a date of when they're expected to.
yeah, you can put a deadline of,
Put an application in that might be 4 months down the road.
yeah, advertise.
I don't think you have to, though. I got some applications open right now with just no close date on them. But
Advertise it. Have a deadline of mid-May, maybe, May 18th.
Comments, Chris?
Yeah, so it's.
Speak loud, but do you mind coming up? Sorry, thanks.
He talks loud, come on. So, just to clarify this, to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, now that we've approved great expenditure for our city clerk, we're considering not hiring a job back in the city shop, is that correct?
We are holding off for a short term. There's some other things that may be coming into play soon.
And what are those other things?
Ending budget, the main thing.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but the workforce at that shop, we should directly take advice from our public works manager. And our public works manager says,
Not a good idea. That's what I started my.
not a good idea to what?
To not hire, to not replace. Right?
Thank you.
Will it require a little bit more work? It might. I hate saying it that way, but that's, sometimes we gotta tighten things a little bit, and there's some other things coming into play that'll be coming up that it'll maybe change a few things.
Is that an official decision?
Not an action
Wasn't-
item.
wasn't on the
It's not an
action.
item.
On the agenda.
It's just discussion.
Any questions for Grant?
One thing off topic, did I miss something where Rick, he's still the janitor here, but he's also helping out in parks?
He is helping out in parks. We've moved him to become my employee. And he spends most of his day with us, and at this point, it's in the parks. And comes over.
About an hour every day right now. We just started, but, I guess to shed a little more light on that, it's probably no surprise because you all are here longer than I have, but originally that position was not a full-time position here as a janitor here at the depot. And it's not necessary. And so, we've moved a lot of that time over to parks to help with parks.
Changed his job description?
Yeah,
Like we did, okay.
Yeah, I mean, his job
Trying
description
to
currently
keep everyone straight.
Yeah, his job description currently allows for it to happen regardless, but we are working to update.
And there's
I should
enough,
say
there's
Grant is
enough for
working
him to
that.
do there at the parks even with those two?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We can catch up a lot of stuff, and I can put spraying weeds and stuff on them and take it off of my guys and keep my guys.
I just remember last summer, your parks crew, you had two that did a really good job. The year before he had 3, didn't work so well. But with those 2 last summer, if you still have 2 now, and then but if he's mowing and stuff, I guess, yeah, it takes, you know, you don't have to put Chris or any of the other guys on that and he can do it. So if Jim's willing to do it, and it sounds like he is, and yeah, I'm all for it. I don't know where I missed that somewhere. So. Sorry, that was off to
And,
different subject from the other one.
and I don't know if that was, you know, my bad to do that without, I mean, it has been a topic that we've discussed individually maybe, but not, I didn't ever bring it up to council. I didn't know if that was necessary, if that was just within the realm of his just job description allows. He's already mowing lawns here regardless, so it's really not much of a change, except that it's just more time being spent doing that work and less time here at the depot interior.
Okay. Discussion of legal issues.
Really quick, do you mind if I'm gonna go back, there's a couple of things I forgot to mention because they weren't on my list, but with grants, there was a grant application or a process that came available where, and I mentioned this to Grant Perkins as well, where there's a potential $1 million grant available to the city for, it's called road hazard, I forget the exact name, but that is another grant that we'll be putting in for that should be beneficial. Grant and I have discussed what we may be able to use those funds for, which would be pretty awesome. And then I also, one of the things that had come up in the meetings before was our contract with Sterling Codifiers. Linda found this notebook of what they had done for us back in 2018, slid up under a desk, never to be found again. And I'm gonna reach out to them because they have all of our city code and everything kind of updated. We were supposed to get back to them within 3 months. We're only 4 years behind, so hopefully we'll get back to them and we can coordinate whatever is left to be done there so that our city code is kind of updated and where it needs to be. So that's it, sorry.
Hey.
Can you come up here? And state your name for me so I have it.
And your address.
Hi, I'm Summer Bradshaw. So I'm just public, I guess. I'm part of the public. You guys were mentioning the road being done with a nice little trail, which is awesome. I totally thought like, that's a great idea. But then I'm thinking, just because you pulled up, it made me think, if our city is actually improving and going to do something that would be even, I would feel a lot safer, or definitely for safety reasons. If you're going around the corner, everybody feels like they're out of town as soon as you come around this corner on the highway. So my daughter has told me several times she's been extremely uncomfortable driving, right? She just barely got her license. But people fly up behind her all the time. I've experienced that. There's been a lot of road rage just right there, just trying to get into my neighborhood. And it is a highway, it's a busy, busy highway. A lot of people, I don't know if they just don't see speed limits coming in, even vice versa, going out. I'm like, wow, that's going really fast. So just in our neighborhood, I would just like to maybe suggest something. Instead of putting, you know, some work into a very quiet area, which I love walking this way because not a lot of people are there. So I'm totally not against that. But having like a turning lane going out of town just for your citizens to be safer so people aren't flying. I wish there'd be a lot more patrol over here, honestly, because I feel like you could just hit people all the time, a lot of out-of-towners. There is a pathway for pedestrians, which ends right there, but I think that would be even a couple turn-in spots or something for turning would be a better suggestion as far as spending $20,000 on a road. And vice versa. I mean, our roads don't make sense in and out of here for the flex of people coming in at this point, so.
Well, it isn't, we aren't spending that money on that road. It's, the county did.
Right.
And we agreed to help them with that.
Okay.
So
well,
it's not as a designated, we weren't planning to do that. That was just, that's part of the plan.
Okay.
And that includes the bike trail clear to Kershaw.
Yeah.
I got you, so around 317.
A paved bike trail clear to Kershaw.
And some of your other concerns about that, where you're talking to, Summer, is NDOT. You get a hold of NDOT.
Okay. because it's actual highway.
Yeah.
Where Summer went though was the $1 million grant for safety. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, it just definitely
Just
like
came to my
piped
mind,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, like that was something
That's something
that,
we could certainly suggest if we get that grant to NDOT.
okay,
Then they can do it.
that would be awesome. Thank you.
Eve Whittle, and you were talking about the updating the code book. Is that like building ordinances and things like that? What is that in reference?
That's the municipal code.
The municipal code, so that would entail everything, correct? So as you all know, in our little meeting this morning, I have issues, and so if we have gone to this new international whatever, coding system, so none of us can access any of that, but Franklin has graciously he's going to allow me to take home a 900-page document so that I can see what the building codes are, the plumbing codes, the electrical codes. So is that going to be incorporated into this document so the citizens can actually see what the coding is and what we're obligated for and to?
Okay, short answer. It's a copyrighted book, first of all, so we can't reprint it.
Well, how does the
But
public?
there are, the link I sent you, and we can make the link available, there's a searchable website that has the same exact material as that book does.
Oh, okay, I didn't see the link.
Oh, sorry, there was a link in that email that I sent you.
Oh, okay, great.
But-
So I can access it through
Yeah,
that.
through the
So
internet.
does an ordinary citizen know this? I mean, how do you access this information? We need to make that available to people. That's all. Thank you. No, absolutely.
And that's something we could probably put on our website as well. We could just put the link on our website, I think. Legal report? Sorry. I actually don't have a lot to report. I've spent a lot of time with Craig these past 2 weeks, talking about net metering, a lot of other things that are going on. Again, a lot of my job doesn't face the public, I guess. But obviously Craig has a lot of conversations with me. I get phone calls, but I've got nothing legal-wise to report at this time, so.
Okay, building inspector's report.
You all should have a copy of this in your packet, but I'll go over it briefly. Battleborn meets, nothing happened there that I'm aware of. They got those vaults ready to pour and they're just sitting there. So, haven't heard anything from them. 257 Spring Heights, they've finally got their drywall worked out almost in the street. They're gonna be starting on it. Actually, it looked like they were starting on it this afternoon. You guys have been working kind of sporadically on it. They work whenever they can get up here from Vegas, mostly on the weekends. 270 Main Street, that remodeling job has been going on now for almost a year and it's still going on. No change there. 251 Ryan, he's getting ready to, he's got all of his trusses there. He's redoing the block walls there to accommodate the trusses that he bought. So he's working pretty hard on it, considering he's mostly by himself. 251 Clover Street, that's John Ellis's commercial remodel of an existing space. Right now, he's kind of holding up doing any more on that until he can get the space rented. Then he needs to know how he can finish it up to suit the tenant.
Questions on it?
Number 5, Love Lane, that little cabin's over there. They've finally started some work on it. They're gonna they get the electrical hooked up on it in the next week or so. Number 10, Haystack Lane over here. They just pulled a permit on it day before yesterday. They didn't do any activity over there now, but he wants to pour concrete Monday for the footings, so you better hurry up because Monday's almost here. Many Street Apartments. They've got 5 rental units that or been renovated, they're just received the cabinets for them. They're gonna put them in. Contractor's plan is still shuffling tenants around inside the apartments to give them more room. Right now, there's 14 empty units over there that they started working on today. So their schedule is such that they think they can be through there in another 2 months with everything total. Maybe, maybe not, but I wish them all the luck in the world. Clover Creek addition, the dirt work is mostly completed. The foundations for the greenhouses, they're working on those right now. They're gonna try and pour those in 2 weeks, depending on weather. They pulled a building permit for that. So that's 38,000 square feet of greenhouse additions. I still don't have the plan on the dry room main building. That's only 7,000 square feet. I talked to them today, and they're still working on the drawings, is what they're telling me. So I expect that we'll get those, the way things are going, maybe by the end of May. They keep saying, well, we're working on it, so we'll see. But they're gonna be busy on the greenhouses, and they wanna pour that 38,000 square feet in one pour. My question to them is, where are you gonna get enough bodies to pour that much concrete in one pour? That's a huge amount. That's probably 1,000 yards of concrete that they wanna pour all at once. So I don't see that happening. I think they'll probably break it up, maybe 3 pours. We'll see. Tiny homes, we all know there's no change on that. Still waiting for the city council to look at the plan from the planning commission. The storage container projects, there's been no change on those. We're still waiting for the existing violation notices to be worked on. And that's about all I have, unless somebody's got any questions.
Any questions for Ken? Okay. Discussion of issues related to public safety. Fire chief's not here. We don't have any representative for the sheriff's office.
I got a comment on that. I just want to go on the record and say, like, the officers is not my issue. But with our $170,000 that we give them, I think the sheriff was here one time in the last year since I've been here. And again, I don't even know if the sheriff's in the county, but he's, whatever. But there's not been, those services are null and void almost due to the management of the sheriff's department, so.
Maybe a new sheriff would.
Well, there's yeah, I mean, there's definitely gonna be one, but.
Okay. Discussion of council members' responsibilities, parks and beautification. Mr. Fitzsimons.
Beautification did not have a meeting for the month of April. The next meeting will be third Tuesday of May, May 16th. As noted, the last meeting, the Cinco de Mayo event has been postponed. It will not happen in May. They claim it'll happen in June, but it won't be Cinco de Mayo. It'll be called Tacos and Ritas. So date to be determined. Ordered the new banners again for local servicemen. They have been ordered. We haven't come in yet. And the traffic island and marquee, we've been keeping up on that. Spoiler alert, the island will be something patriotic for the month of May, so just hold on to your hats. And we'll put out the flags, of course, on Memorial Day, and we have all those new flags that we purchased, so that's it. Sorry, there's nothing more to report, but beautification ladies have been pretty busy. Some are planning weddings, some are on vacation, some are gone through tragedies, so it's just been kind of hard to get everyone to meet. A reminder, we do take a break from beautification this summer. We don't meet June and July, and usually don't meet in August, so, but I hopefully have more to report next time. So that's about it.
Any questions? Okay, community development, Councilman Rao.
All right, there was no planning commission again this time, which is good if there's nothing to put on it. Construction has started on the bike path to Kershaw, and I believe that is a 30-day contract. So it's they're wrapping it up pretty quick. I think they started the 12th, so I think by the 12th of May, it should be complete.
I was told it was 30 working days, so.
Right, well, 30 working days, so, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
So it might stretch out then the
You're right.
30 days a little bit. Oh, yeah, they're hustling.
Anyway, that's all I've got.
Any questions?
They are renting a room from us. They paid for it in advance, which was great. It's nothing, it's very minimal, because we charge very little, but
That Clyde,
something else that,
WW Clyde's renting an office space upstairs.
Okay.
but that is another thing that we can look at, is what we do.
Okay, tourism, Boxcar Museum, Mr. Laveri.
I don't have a lot to report, but the Boxcar Museum, they've been over there and, had some visitors and whatnot, and then today in Vegas at my work, I got to hear all about the Boxcar Museum from couple bikers that work for me and whatnot down on that end, and they were all pleased that they came through there and seen it, so that was cool, and I mean, they're promoting it, just by stopping through here. It's quite a big group, actually. And then, the room tax side of things, I'm sure we'll probably be having some meetings pretty soon with, I know the rodeo's coming up and, Memorial Day, 4th of July, I mean, I've had people asking me about it, so I would imagine in the next few weeks that be people coming into smaller events asking for room tax money.
I haven't heard anything specific, but
That Boxcar Museum, I was over here when Coach Phillips was here. I didn't see you, Susan, but I think they had it was quite a group. Yeah, it's pretty good, yeah. But, so this guy that works for me, I guess they go back to the Harley shop, they take a picture, so that actually gets posted like through a pretty big network. Yeah.
Whenever they go and show those around, it's gonna be good advertisement.
Yeah. That was a good deal. That's it.
Any questions? Okay, public utilities, Mr. Hunter.
Not a ton to report. We had a few utility issues last month, but with some meter reading problems, but overall that got settled and things are going pretty well.
Okay. My report, I don't have a lot to report, except this deal with Mr. Rawsom's been pretty much on my mind the last couple of weeks, trying to decide what's going on, and I've thrown it up and down 100 times, and we'll see if we made a right decision. I think we have, and I wouldn't have voted that way if I didn't. So that's all I've got. Anybody got any questions for me? Okay. Public comment. Do we have any public comment related to anything related to the city? Okay. Then we'll go to schedule date and review agenda topics for our next meeting.
I've got a few requests in for our next meeting, tentatively scheduled unless you tell me otherwise for Cinco de Mayo. So May 5th is the next date, unless there's objections, 6 p.m. And that's all I got right now for that.
Are we not pulling her up for the weather?
It was already approved. It was in the consent agenda.
Very first thing.
Oh, we can let you go home 2 hours ago.
Would you like to tell us a little more about that business, or?
We get a license.
It's like frog eggs from China or something? Well, we know. We're informed.
Okay, we have no more public comment. I adjourn this meeting.
Sorry to put you on the spot, so I realize it wasn't planned, of course.
I tell you what, I talked to him today, and I was going to come in here and say, can't do it. And he still, he doesn't recommend we don't do it, but there's gotta be some changes. Where it comes out of the budget, where it's over. I think we need to discuss.
Oh, shit. Thank you, Sean.
I think we talked about it, I think it's time to hit.
We want to do it